Well, in this video, we want to talk about creating search campaigns together and how to start this process, where to begin, what the influential parameters in campaign settings are. And finally, we'll move on to having a non-display search in the keyword input section. To do this, we first enter the dashboard. As you know, naturally, the VPN should be on, preferably the one that it's better to use those with a static IP for setting up the Moorstar campaign. Guys, always read your dashboard before executing. Guys, knowing where everything is, what the three dots mean, I can tell you right here. The dashboard you currently see on your screen might be slightly different in terms of UI and UX. For example, in some dashboards, this. You see the flash on the left side, but in some dashboards, you don't have this anymore. Instead, you have a black line at the top, and below it, you have a wider black line, and the story continues. Or, for example, the hierarchies here. You don't need to worry about them because this is an MCC. And that's why you're seeing it like this. You have a piece of hierarchy that actually acts like a breadcrumb and it flashes, for example, in its different sections. Now, if I go and see guys at the top, now I'm going into, for example, the ad group X. Look up here. You see it change to all campaigns, then campaign so-and-so, and its subcategory is ad group thread embroidery. This is actually the whole hierarchy, or better said, it's like a breadcrumb. You've seen how it is on websites, right? It's exactly like that model. Now, what I actually want to talk about is that you first need to know where we are, what place we are in. I click on this plus sign, and I'm actually adding a keyword. If I want to create a new campaign, if you look to your left, you won't see that campaign anymore. What happens? I have to go back to this layer, come into the campaign layer, and if I want to see the campaign, the rest of the ad group is added, and then the campaign is added. So now, when I want to read the address, I say now the campaigns. This model says all campaigns. I see the campaigns of the entire account in this table. When I go inside a specific campaign, it adds to that breadcrumb above. And I see its ad groups here. In fact, what is happening is that it tells me you are seeing the ad groups. It also says here that you are seeing the ad groups of the campaign you planted. Well, considering the levels that we actually talked about in the structure of a Google account, which were account, campaign, ad group, and finally, you can see this exactly here as well. Now look here, you can see the breadcrumb here. There are some accounts where instead of seeing the breadcrumb here, there's a black line at the top. Don't let it confuse you. If you see this format, it's the same thing. It doesn't make a significant difference. I moved to the right side of the dashboard. I always have the timing set. As soon as you enter your dashboard, guys, keep an eye out for two things. One is the time range you want to select, and the other is your filters. There's a funnel-shaped filter icon. You can see here that you have a filter with all enable ad group visible. When you click on this flasher, you will see exactly the same structure of the campaign and its ad groups here. I mentioned that we always read the second instruction. You can see it says pause and remove campaigns are hidden. Say, there's a note here that is actually applying a filter at the highest possible level for you. It provides you with this. If I click on all campaigns, it switches to the all mode. I can also set the ad group to all mode, saying I want to see all the ad groups. At this point, if a campaign, for example, has an ad group that has been paused, you will see this ad group, well, if it has been paused. Now you can see it here. If I change this filter to all enabled and refresh the page, you won't see it anymore. And those that are paused won't be visible. So, pay attention to the filters. Let me tell you a brief sentence. Anything you see inside is not permanent. Anything you do inside Google Ads leaves a trace, and nothing is ever deleted from the dashboard. Well, except for economic data, which I'll explain to you later. For example, if you make changes somewhere, like in keywords, not in ad groups or campaigns, I'll teach you later. For instance, if you change your ad schedule or adjust the ad settings. You might not see that audience data with that model, but you can have all the details here, whether it's paused or removed. Even if I hit remove here, you will still see this data. In fact, this ad group that has been removed, okay? You still see it, but if I apply the all but removed filter, I won't see it here anymore. So if you feel like some data you had is now missing, consider two possibilities. One is the filter, and the other is the time range. Why is the time range important? Sometimes you might have run a campaign, for example, from the 10th to the 30th of May. I'm just giving an example. Then when are you checking the time range? You are looking at the time range, for example, from the 1st to the 30th of Shahrivar. Naturally, you won't see clicks in that range, and you shouldn't say, I spent money, but my clicks aren't there. Such things don't happen. You always need to pay close attention to those time ranges and also your filters. Now I want us to go and create a campaign. When the account is new in the all campaigns mode, you will be placed in an overview point where you see this box. You will only see one new campaign and a note saying start and enjoy. What? You can start your campaign from various paths. So either I click here in the overview, it doesn't make a difference, or I go into it. On the campaigns, on the campaigns, on the campaigns. I want us to set up this new campaign together. In the next section, which I will discuss with you, you will have a quick review of the data. But it's just a quick review to see what's happening. Guys, in the first step, you choose your objectives. You will select the goals of your campaign. Does this have an impact? Guys, if you know that, your goal is to go hiking. Naturally, you will take boots and a stick. But if, for example, you go with sneakers, you can't go hiking. Why? You can go. My point is that these goals you are setting determine the settings that Google places in front of you, and they are arranged accordingly. Well, does it make a significant difference which one I choose? At this point, I would say no. Sir, I choose sales, when the goal is also sales and the type of campaign varies based on these goals. For example, brand awareness. When you set brand awareness to reach For example, when you set app promotion, you see the UAC model or the app dots. Right now in this situation, I can choose website traffic, I can choose leads, I can choose sales, but among these it actually says you are targeting website traffic. In the search model, we see that conversion is actually the click, or better said, the entry to your website. It says to consider that as website traffic is as a conversion. See the lead here as a conversion. I will talk in detail about conversion later, but right now I want to tell you that it doesn't matter which one you choose. Here, I currently see create a campaign without a goal guidance. It says I don't want the guidelines based on campaign goals to be applied to me. Tell me that I want to start for now. This is what I am choosing, and it doesn't make a difference. Look, guys, this is what I chose. The types of campaign models that can be run on Google, which I showed you at the beginning of the course. I discussed various types of Google campaigns, and at the beginning I showed you a section. Here you can see Search Performance Max, which we are not dealing with right now. We are not dealing with Discovery, Local, or Smart either. Why? And how. I'll explain the story later. For example, in Discovery previously, you would go to YouTube for video campaigns, and it was all there, and in Discovery, which in Iran, it was on YouTube and Gmail, but at the end, Discovery was, you open your Chrome at the beginning in that Discovery space in a series of dedicated spaces considered for this topic. I am not dealing with that right now. Until I choose the campaign I want to select. I choose search ads, and it gives me 3 parameters here. Right here, I will just tell you what these are, but I am not checking it myself now because I will do it later. It asks, sir, what do you want to achieve from this campaign? It says website visits. I can now put my website, for example, htmarketing.org. Here. Guys, if you have HTTPS, always use HTTPS, but I am not putting it now. Why? I am just explaining it to you. Guys, what it does now is this. You can fill it out if you want. I can even choose not to fill it out. Nothing special happens. I am not checking that box for now. If you want, you can check it. I'm just explaining to you that if you check this box, it can actually show you some suggestions for the website you are entering during your keyword research. Sir, it cannot be changed later. Don't forget, guys, there are only 3 things in Google that cannot be changed in your Google account, your country, the currency that the account reaches, and finally, your account's time zone. Everything else can be edited, so don't worry if you set something incorrectly. It's not important at all. We will go back and check all our settings again and thoroughly review all the parameters you need. So what effect does checking this box have? As I said, It will show some suggestions later in this video. Nothing extraordinary happens, it's just routine. Nothing extraordinary happens, it's just routine. When I press the phone button, what happens? When you check this in Iran, you can't use it directly, but outside of Iran, yes, you can. Yeah, why? Because Iran is not distorted here, okay? Now, how should we work with it? I'll tell you later. First, it gives you an extension that you'll see in the next videos. It gives you an extension that is actually a call extension for contact. I'm here with it. I don't care, I'll press it again. What is the app download? If I click on this part, it gives you an app extension, meaning in that search ad that we did together, if you remember. We first searched together and saw a few examples at the top there. It actually gives you a box below for downloading the application that you are offering here, which might not always be displayed, but it's not important. I can set it later as well. I just mentioned it so you know for now because they don't allow it. We just call it a campaign name, guys. When did we separate the campaign? When I said you want to separate your child band, well, when you want to take a taste for a specific part, guys, the child differs with charge and cast. I won't forget this. I know the name of a campaign. Sir, any name you like can be changed. I said everything is changeable. So the campaign name that I want to put here now, guys, don't write it in cuneiform. Write something that tomorrow you can easily understand what the campaign is actually about. Okay, so I'm putting this now. For now, I'll put test class. I click on continue and move on to the next steps. My dear friends, sometimes the order you see here might be different, and that's perfectly fine. Based on the points, I'm telling you, pay attention to what I said. So the order might change, and it might even be that the tabs on the left don't appear this way. They might change from tab to tab. There's a line up here that changes it, but it still doesn't make a difference. Do you know what byte-in is? If we know how to fix the keyboard, if we know what the budget is, all of this is fine, is that it doesn't matter. Whether I know, for example, that this is called a keyboard, whether it's here or there, in your command it's a keyboard, it doesn't make a significant difference to me. I understand the concept and can use it. That's that. Well, kids, I won't forget, I'm setting up a campaign. In the campaign settings, we have a section called bidding. If you remember, I said the bid is defined at the keyboard level. So what is this? Kids, you're bidding in. The campaign level, you are seeing it, pay attention. Bidding strategy. I said it with this accent, bidding strategy. And actually, what is your bidding strategy? Google Ads has two main types of bidding strategies, And of course, there's a little one in the middle that I'll reveal later. One type is automated. Does anyone have a subset? There's also a manual model. The difference between automated bidding strategies and manual bidding strategies is that if I want to explain it to you in detail, whenever you read an article or talk to someone, they say, oh, just go automated, it arranges everything by itself, right? Don't forget the studies we initially talked about and the incorrect beliefs I mentioned. Right here, I need to tell you that automated strategies have a few requirements. First, Google says, do you have enough money? Do you have enough funds? Second, if you don't have time, leave it to me. And it even offers this suggestion. Guys, I don't do this when I want to compete. I understand that for competing, the car is not automatic. A car with a manual transmission can make a world of difference for me in terms of acceleration and speed. Therefore, what I do and choose is manual. Well, we also have a semi-automated model, a case where we see a mix of manual and automated tasks. Let me tell you another point. No matter how much they say automated models are easy, no matter how much they say, oh, what a task. Let's get to the car, and let me tell you about this issue, that when you want to learn driving and work with my car first. So why am I saying this? There's a clear reason, guys. When you're using this tool, the first thing is that in manual mode, it allows you to set everything to your own level of control. But when you switch to automated, some of the settings are no longer in your control. The next point, guys, I mentioned it requires enough money, which I told you. After that, guys, in automated mode, you need an initial volume of data. In fact, Google itself says, I have a set of requirements for each of these if you want to use them. Why? Because it says, I need to learn. Guys, how can it learn when there's no data? It's like leaving a child in the middle of the jungle from infancy. Can it definitely speak? No, obviously it can't speak properly. Maybe it can convey a few things to you and me, but it can't use words and it can't communicate correctly or it can't speak properly. So guys, those requirements, I see it here now, so guys, don't easily accept everything that's said, so I choose myself. But let me tell you something, guys. Recently, in the dashboard work, this has been done where the manual has been removed from this point. For me to be able to go after it, then I can tell you that in the models you are seeing now, well, there's one conversion. Why are these two off? Because I haven't set the conversion tracker. Another one is handling clicks and impressions. Well, impressions are done. These are automated models that you are seeing. I hope, what am I doing here? I don't remember, guys. Look, whenever I close any of these pages, it shows me its name. We have without maximize clicks, we have without maximize conversion value, we have without maximize conversion, we have without ROAS and target CPA. These are automated models. I'll mention their names for now and I'll talk about them later. We have target CPA, we have without target impression share, which you are seeing now, guys. Here, you can't choose what to do. You write it down in 2 notebooks, then you process it, and then you process it again. Now, at this stage, I come to choose my bidding for now. Then, make sure to note this down in your notebook so you don't forget. After completing the campaign settings, I will go into the campaign settings and change it manually there. Don't forget this, it's very important. So you don't forget, sir, what is this? I am not dealing with it right now. See how much I am emphasizing that I'm not dealing with it, so you don't forget. For now, set the maximum to 1/10 so that if you make a mistake, you don't accidentally submit a request. Okay, I checked this box and set it to 1/10. We'll get back to it later. For now, I'll leave it as it is because it's not important at the moment. Once the campaign settings are complete, I'll go back to change the bid strategy and eventually switch it to manual. I click Next. In your campaign settings, there's a network section. Didn't we choose that we want to run a search campaign? So what is this? Isn't the search campaign where it gets displayed? It wasn't in the SERF, it wasn't automatic, it wasn't GSN, it wasn't Google Search Network. Why? So what is this? Guys, these 2 checkboxes it's talking about. The first one in the search network says include Google search partners. Google has most of the partner search engines like AOL and others, which we don't need to deal with right now. It says if you check this box, I will show your ad when someone searches there, even if they search in that browser. Wow, I will display your ad. Google search partners. Well, I am not checking this box for now, guys. Why am I not doing this right now? Because I will explain it to you later. The reason is that if I get performance, it's not that you won't get performance, but the behavior of my users in Iranu, at least for now, is very weak and minimal on search partners. Therefore, I am not checking them for now. If you want to check them, it won't cause any problems for you, but it will incur costs. Guys, in the search ad model, you pay per click. What does that mean? It means you are paying per click. Well, if a click happens, there, yes, you are paying. Well, the next point is, what is the display network? Didn't we say we are working with search ads and mentioned that? Naturally, if you remember, I said this is an advertisement. Whatever it does, they call it display opt-in, which means choosing the display network. Well, what does it do? Well, it places your text ad on websites and applications. Pay attention to the fact that there are 3 plain colorless white-gray options available for the button. And it just has a text on it. Guys, those are also for Google Ads. And what have they actually done? They've brought a text and placed it inside there. Well, a text ad has been placed in it and you see it like a banner. If you've paid attention, when you're searching on YouTube, sometimes you see a text there in your search. Well, it means that it's not for display banners and it's for those search partners. It's a tutorial on Google search partners. Guys, I'm unchecking this box. Why? For example, I know from my own perspective that when a user is browsing through different spaces, websites, and applications, at that moment, they are not yet at the point of expressing their need. This is the first step in display advertising, and right now I don't need it, so I'm leaving this box unchecked for them, okay? Let's look at the location section. Remember, location targeting is happening in the campaign settings. If you want to target outside of Iran, you need to approach it one way, and for Iran, it's different. Guys, for targeting Iran, you currently don't have the capability to do it directly. At least for now, let me say that. To directly target Iran. So what should you do? Okay, we take a reverse approach. First, we say, if we don't want the whole world, let's exclude some countries. However, there are a few countries, including Iran, that are under sanctions, and you can't even exclude them. So, in this context, I exclude some countries here. For example, I exclude Turkey because in reality, different taxes are applied in various countries. From you as an advertiser, I exclude some countries. For instance, I exclude Turkey. I do this, I select Turkey and say, exclude it. I select, for example, the USA and say exclude it due to these different policies. I exclude a few countries or actions in Asia as well. This is for when I want to target Iran. Guys, you have an advanced setting here. Now, suppose I want to do the opposite. You see this advanced setting? Guys, many say, sir, reducing this is a good thing. I can apply this in Iran. You see, sir, forget it for now. At least we can't target Iran at the moment. Well, keep this completed sentence in mind, which gives it a radius. Now, up to this point, keep it in mind. I want to target outside of Iran. For example, let's assume I want to target only within a radius of, say, 50 kilometers. For instance, here we can zoom in and go to your area. For example, you can set it here, like 50 kilometers around Vancouver. For example, I'm saying 50 kilometers. If I only want the advertisement to be shown, well, then I save it. Guys, this is targeting. I've seen some people exclude everywhere and target this place. Guys, when you're targeting a place and there's no overlap between your targeting and excluding, there's no need to exclude anymore. I've targeted this and I've also excluded this place, which automatically won't be seen. The visibility of your target is important. So I set a target like this. Guys, if I add another target, it's not something that overlaps. Why? Because you're targeting these. Yeah, it's better to say that it's the sum of these, this, and this, and it. Well, since you're resetting your target in the location, guys, the likelihood of competition will be harder and more frequent. Now, our question is, in any case, I want exactly those who are here to see me, not those who are immigrants and so on. Or, for example, those whose interest is this. Guys, we have a location option here that actually has 2 targets. Different title, their target, and 1 good silence. In targeting, it says presence and interest. Actually, presence being tossed in search interest. As you can see from the name of this topic, in presence, it means that they are there. Well, based on this model, if I want to say in your location, targeting, in presence, based on IP and device location and a series of other parameters that Google determines, if your location is really there, it will show you if you only select presence. If you haven't selected anything, well, normally it's presence or interest. What is interest? It says, based on your search or based on your Google Maps search. When you are searching on Google Maps, you are showing interest yourself. And the next point is based on the searches you are doing. If it's about a specific place in a particular country, you are showing interest in it on Google. You might be in Turkey, for example. But you are showing interest in Vancouver, Canada, by searching about it. So, in the discussion of location targeting, we had 2 main titles, presence and interest. If you want only those who are in that area to see you, you should choose presence. If you have targeted it in your exclusion, please do not change it. Let it be presence. Why? Because I don't want a certain country, but those who have an interest in that country and are in the same location as I am should be okay. Using presence or interest in exclude is risky, but in targeting you can select presence and say I only want this country to be included. Otherwise it will reach other IPs from the location and so on, determining if you are really in that location or not. So from now on, if someone asks you at what level we are blocking location targeting in Google, what do you say? We say we are blocking it at the campaign level, right? Now, For example, if I want to target Iran, I said, let's do it. For instance, I want to target here. We script these things automatically, and it comes at the level for Iran. If we do it for a minute, what did I say, guys? I said your fundamental targeting for... These are based on the fact that my keywords are in Persian. Okay? So at the keyword level, when I say all my keywords are in Persian, the search term is also related, mostly coming in Persian, right? So do I need to do this? It really depends on you. If you feel like it, you can do it. I've given you the tool, okay? Guys, remember that language at the campaign level is not about typing language. Let me tell you a very important point here. When we say language, we don't mean the typing language. We mean the language of the user's device and browser. Therefore, if your user searches a word in Persian or even in English, and you check the user's device and see that the device's language is set to Persian, and if you have location targeting, it won't be displayed to them. Why? Because the language isn't set to English, right? What do we do for Iran? We select Persian, which is referred to as Persian. We select both Persian and English. Sometimes you might choose Persian and mess things up. And suddenly your traffic drops. Yes, it drops. Why? Because you are actually filtering your user's behavior through the keyword. And there's no need to do it here, right? After this, guys, I don't have anything to do with audience segments right now. Later, I'll teach you how to use audience segments. There's a section for ad settings. Ad rotation, guys. Normally, it's set to prefer best performing ads. Remember I said to write 2 to 3 ads in each ad group? Well, when the keyword in this ad group is triggered, and I set it to optimize prefer best performing ads, it brings the best performing one into play. This is its main recommendation. And when it's set like this, I don't touch it. We have another option, start and end date, guys. Based on whether I'm planning to run the campaign a month or 2 from now, I set the start and end date from this date to that date. Or it might start from this date but have no end, so I remove the end date and set it to none. You see? You see, it's not set. Okay, the next one is ad scheduling, guys. This ad scheduling is set at the campaign level. Write this down. What is ad scheduling useful for? Let me give a brief explanation. Ad scheduling is useful for businesses that want to run their ads only during a specific time period to be displayed. However, this doesn't mean it's disabled. Ad scheduling is like the nozzle of a sprinkler. You know, the one they attach to the hose in gardens. Again, it motivates you to run a campaign, but this one is quick. It's closed. I can open it quickly or leave it as it is. So the address should reach your account's time zone and at the campaign level. We'll discuss later how it should be done correctly. But know that the address reaching your account's time zone is important in Faison. For example, if I wanted to run at 10 a.m. Tehran time, Turkey is currently an hour and a half behind us. So in such a time, which is supposed to be an hour and a half behind instead of setting it to 10, okay? What do I set it to? I set it to start at 8:30 because my account's time zone is Turkey, right? I set it to start at 8:30 until 8:30 at night. What does that mean? It means, for example, I'm saying from 10 in the morning to 10 at night. So the address is useful for this purpose, but I don't know when the valve should be opened for this to work quickly. What does that mean? It means, sir, the overall... Well, your campaign needs to be enabled so that the ad section can also be active. Guys, for now, let's not work on the campaign, URL options, and dynamic search. I'll handle it later. I click next, and it comes to keywords and ads. Guys, you'll learn about keywords and search ahead. Right now, I don't want to write keywords and ads. We'll teach you in 1 or 2 of the upcoming sessions, but right now, I don't want to add keywords or write ads. For now, I just want to move on to the budget. Guys, how much should I set the budget? Please pay attention to this, as the budget can limit your exposure. Don't forget that. So, what is the budget level? We are starting with here. It says average daily budget, and I'll read what's next. For the month, you won't pay more than your daily budget times the average number of days in a month. Guys, what does it say? It means that even if you set your budget to, for example, 100 lira, it doesn't mean that it will only spend 100 lira. It will balance based on the consumption throughout the month. It checks if there is room to spend more, and if so, it will spend. This can go up to twice the budget that you and I have set, meaning it can consume up to double the 100 we are setting. What should I set your budget at? Guys, don't set it at 15 deli. I said it's a handbrake budget, right? You don't know the handbrake, just brake, man. Use the foot brake. So, I try to consider the budget at a higher level so that this triangular limitation you see up here becomes a group for me, not a friend. Well, I try to take the upper hand, but the point is, sir, you might think I'm guilty. How much should I set again? Is 20 good then? Guys, set it higher, let it be. I start again with 300, 400. Sir, what it consumes is different from the cost with the budget. I won't forget. Next, and review, guys. Pay close attention here in your review. Because I had an error here, we might see an error that we saw. The first issue is that it says, to start running ads, enter your billing information. I don't care if it says you don't have a keyword. I still don't care. You see, I say publish my campaign and hit publish again. Guys, it doesn't teach me if I'm doing this, which is fine up to this point. And then I finish it. You go into review, and finally, we publish it. Once you've published it, guys, I said I know you'll check its settings again. First, when you look at the core level of the campaign, you see this breadcrumb at the top. When this breadcrumb is at the campaign level, it means I'm seeing the search keywords for all the campaigns. We don't care. Well, when this breadcrumb is at the campaign level, what does this top line show? It shows a summary of the campaign settings that are editable. Guys, I can pause it if we had a use case where we didn't make a mistake. For example, if we want to fix everything and make it right, you can pause and run it from here with Silo. You can pause and run it from here from the side I mentioned to you. Again, you can see all the campaigns in the all campaigns list. Here too, you can pause and run. It doesn't make a difference. The same thing can happen here. Now I want to check the campaign settings again, so I go back into the campaign and the breadcrumb is set to the campaign. Finally, I select the settings. When I select the settings, guys, you can see here that this budget pyramid is still there. Now we see a man, a customary trap, and generally it is seen that the auto meter is set to maximum clicks. I also see a general explanation, its start date, end date, and ad schedule, which I will discuss with you about a channel all day, and we will fix it together. So we looked at it, the target is also specified, the location targeting and language are also determined. And finally, I can see the ad groups here as well. I can access all of this from here. I can set the campaign settings right here. These are the overall settings of your campaign. I mentioned two places that you shouldn't touch, which are in the additional settings. One is the campaign URL option, and the other is dynamic. Well, I don't have any business with it right now. Guys, when you come into the campaign settings, you look at the budget here. If I set it higher, is there a problem? No, guys. We have a handbrake in the car and Python training 1930. What's in the car? To put it better, in Google, what is it about? It's your manual budget. I won't forget that chart. We can't find the optimum point, but we can move forward sensibly. I set it higher. For example, my goal was to spend 100 dirhams a day, but I set it to 300 dirhams. To bring down the display limitations in terms of budget, if you remember, there were two scenarios where you would give an ad. I choose and lose the budget of this projection. I wanted to reduce the limitation, so I set the budget higher, up to 400. The kids aren't supposed to cast this. What do you brake with? With the foot brake. What is the foot brake? You know, when we work with the bid, we adjust it up and down. Today we are doing an amazing job. You remove a parameter that can reduce your display, which is limited by the budget. And we come to the bid, starting with increasing the bid complaints. We begin to control this. Well, in special cases where we control it, we lower the bid, we apply the brakes, and it doesn't work. Yes, we lower the budget to control it, but usually it doesn't happen. You can control your bid, that is your goal. I look at my settings, I am seeing the networks. Guys, the image you are seeing here is saying that you have only selected search. If I come here and check the display box, this image changes. You see, a line has been added to the left side of this image. This is also showing you that, sir, the display is also running now. Be aware. I say, wait, let's remove it. Again, okay. The goal of camping is again to change the target and so on. Now I want to say that I can even adjust my location targeting again, apply those changes I mentioned. Here, my goal was presence, and in the end, I check my language to ensure both are there. I mentioned my bidding, or I said to write it down manually. Don't forget to circle it a few times so you definitely don't forget. Draw a line while you are doing it. They also change the bidding, the kids do. When I come to the bidding, I had said it was a bidding strategy. I put it in my mind so that if I forget, I don't make a mistake. Okay, I come to the bidding, I want to switch it to manual. The goal is to change the bid strategy. Here's fun. You click on change bid strategy, you see the directory down here. You click it again, it comes here. Kids, look here, it shows you two main categories, automated and manual. Maximize clicks, maximize conversions, target impression share. These are the ones I just mentioned to you. I select manual CPC here. Kids, when you select manual CPC, pay attention to a checkbox down here that is currently inactive. What does it say? It says, help increase conversion with enhanced CPC. Anyone, whatever Jesus CPC, this is also CPC. The same automated system I told you about. This checkbox becomes active when you have the conversion tracker, which you will be given later, active. It was active, but I won't check it now. Don't check the enhanced CPC, kids. When you are linking analytics to Google Ads, you will see this message again. It automatically says it will activate it. Be careful to deactivate the checkbox. Write these 2 points in your notebook right now. When connecting analytics to Google Ads, it automatically activates that checkbox. So be sure to deactivate it when you come here as well. Sometimes you might check this box unintentionally. Why? Because you might say, for example, there's an error that gives a notification saying it's not good. Guys, let me teach you a phrase. Whatever Google tells you, first respond with charm and grace. Oh, what does that mean? We say no. So, whatever Google says at first, we say no, we think about it, and if it makes sense, we do it. It's not necessary for Google to always offer us something that will improve our performance. Sure, the phrases might sound nice and appealing, but this won't always be a positive outcome for our campaign. Another parameter that is important to us is, certainly, don't forget about automation and the fact that it involves learning and has requirements. I don't use it just like that. And on the other hand, in the automated model, you need to have enough budget. I'm not going into details now. But guys, the best model for us will be manual CPC. I know it's hard and takes time, but it's the best. Don't forget the comparison between an automatic car and a manual transmission car. In fact, so I choose manual CPC and I've checked my settings. Ultimately, up to this point, I've checked the settings, set it to manual CPC, and I've given you a general explanation about eCPC. In the end, I don't deal with the lower part of this matter. I've noted the start date and end date as specified. I'm stepping aside for now, not dealing with another detail at the moment. I'll get back to it later. I'll give you a detailed explanation about the revenue model. I come into ad schedule. Do you see? Or JCC? Guys, in ad schedule, you don't have two levels of ad groups. What? When you're at a specific ad group level, when you have your keywords, you don't see an ad schedule here. You see in my image, there's no other ad schedule. So when I'm at my campaign level, I've selected a specific campaign. I see my ad schedule, okay? If you don't see the ad schedule here, click on the shell and shank and you'll see it. You saw? I select the ad schedule, come here and edit it. Guys, whoa, we have a concept called eligibility, okay? You see your ad's eligibility is all the time, okay? What does that mean? I gave you an example. The first important topic in the ad schedule, please write down the points. I insist on writing because, guys, these are parameters that will influence your market analysis later. Please write them down precisely. How many parameters did you have in your ad schedule? One is at the campaign level. I'll say it slowly so you can write it down too. Second, you are set based on your account's time zone. Where do I see the account's time zone? Do you see it down here? You see, it says Turkey time. Well, now you see the difference with Iran, for example, it's 7:30 in Turkey, and it's 9 for us. We have a 1.5 hour difference. So if I want it to be 9, I set it to 7:30 here based on the time zone, because the time zone is Turkey. Well now, keep this in mind, but now I'm saying you get a display all the time. Well, the third point is that the campaign must be enabled for it to work properly. For example, don't forget the main valve and the hose end I mentioned. If the main valve is closed, even if you open the hose end, it won't have any effect. Therefore, the main valve must be fully open and the campaign must be enabled. This was the third point I mentioned to you. Well, now, I come to edit it, guys. For example, imagine I want to say what purpose it serves. For many businesses that have a call center and want to run it only at a specific time of the day, they don't want to manually pause and run it. They use it from where they come to edit it. Imagine I am a business that is supposed to answer the phone, and I am active, for example, from 9 in the morning until 6 in the evening, and on Thursdays and Fridays. I come and say what? I say, sir, I set this up. Be mindful of the AM and PM. These are not in AM PM format right now. You have a 24-hour format. You see 9 in the morning in Tehran actually becomes, according to the time zone they mentioned, 7:30 in the morning, but in Turkey. At 18 now, 18 is an hour and a half ahead, which becomes 15, which means what? 16:30, 4:30 in the afternoon, right? And then I seal it. Hosiba. Look at what happened. If you're down, they made these eligible for me, guys. Okay? My campaign needs to be enabled for this to work. I won't forget. So, what does being eligible mean? Guys, this means, well, you see its status. It says not eligible because in these two keyboards from not having or fix it, it becomes possible. Okay? Here, our campaign is enabled. But what does eligibility mean? It means, sir, there is a possibility of being displayed. Is it 100% that you will be displayed, or do you make a mistake and see and do it? No. Well, there is a possibility of being displayed, and eligibility is for being. But whether I am or not, I understand its story depends on other parameters. Right now, I don't have anything to do with it, so I become eligible and can be displayed, that's it. And in the end, I want to, for example, hit my Friday 5 like this to hit it faster. I want to delete it. I also deleted these 2 times from the clock. For example, suppose I have Wednesday as well. Just for example, I'm saying, well, on Wednesday, for instance, I might change it. I'm going to change it an hour earlier, like it becomes something like 15 and 30 dynamically, and I save it. Look at what happens, guys. What I'm saying is for your business to reach, well, I don't forget the time zone. This is great knowledge, and this is being applied at the campaign level. You see this. Well, you have this event here, so I'm eligible for being displayed. And if this time is outside of these times, you practically won't have a display, even though the campaign is enabled, meaning you don't have permission to be displayed. This was the last topic I wanted to discuss. I also talked to you about the budget, so don't start being overly sensitive. Don't worry about the cost. Manage the cost with the brakes. Find a place where you can bring down the control and the display will decrease. Yes, you have spent, which will always cost you. Control it, that's it. In fact, by reducing your CTR, the volume of your display will decrease, and consequently, your CPC amount will decrease. However, the 2 items I mentioned at the beginning might not happen. You might lower your CPC, but still have a good display volume. Do you remember that chart? Sometimes you reduce your CPC and the number increases due to the chart I previously discussed with you, which can actually manage your display. Control it. So I eliminated one of the parameters, and finally, I went to the strategy in the settings of a campaign and changed it again to the menu. Say, don't forget to always check the settings of a campaign. This is another point I mentioned. The top line is based on the last breadcrumb point I told you about. You see an overall overview and the places we want to go. Our address must be specified. Guys, in the next video, you will see how to create an ad group and move on to creating others. You will delve into keyword research, learn about negative keywords, and set up the rest of the campaign together.